All right, we're back with an all new show, Damage and Blue. There's a lot going on out here in these streets, so we're going to jump right into it. We've had a lot of people here on the show. We've had goats, we've had trans men and women, we've had rappers, wannabe rappers, used to be rappers. But anyway, there was one guest on the show that was extremely controversial, both in and outside the show, and that was actor Kaalan Walker. Damage Blue, you saw that interview where we talked about all of the serial rape allegations that were out there about him, and now that he's found guilty, what do you think looking back on the interview that we had?
Well,
I'm not
personally, I knew he
surprised.
was. Yeah, I knew he was guilty. He unfortunately affected some people that I know personally. I think the dude's a piece of shit, and justice was served. It's just that simple.
And he was very poor at lying. There's something very creepy about him, and I almost feel like that interview that you did with him felt like a master class on toxicity, on gaslighting, on victim blaming. He did so many textbook things that a Disney villain would do that I'm just happy he's off the streets because I really walked away from watching that feeling like he was a menace.
Well, if you don't know who Kaalan Walker is, let me explain to you. He's an actor who's appeared in movies like 2018 Superfly. Well, he recently got convicted of serial rape and is facing 100 years to life in prison. Now, a jury found him guilty of 8 out of 11 counts of sexual assault that date all the way back to 2013, all the way up to 2018. Now, let me say this, because when I first met Kaalan, who came on the scene, at least in my orbit, with Superfly, there was something about him that was really weird. I remember, and even on the show where I talked to him about wanting to use Hollywood Unlocked to put out this alleged sex tape he thought he had with him and Halle Berry, which to me is just the most ridiculous thing. He actually called me and asked me how I could help him put it out, and I told him that wasn't something that we could do. So I always knew that there was something weird with him, and he was somebody I've never spent any time with. But I will tell you, part of my decision to interview him here at Hollywood Unlocked was I kind of felt like if somebody was interested and willing to go on record and be questioned and almost examined in a way when I interviewed him about these allegations, then it would be information that could be used against him in court, because this isn't a show where you get to decide what you do and don't talk about or questions I can or cannot ask. And I asked him everything that I wanted to ask. When he was here on the show, I think you said something, Blue, that was really interesting. He used or tried to use the platform just to gaslight his victims. And thankfully it worked, because it gaslit them right here to Hollywood Unlocked. And we were able to interview them by way of Kehlani reaching out to me and putting me in touch with some of those women. So what I want to do is show you just a small clip of when he was here on the show. Take a look. So what's your response to Sydney?
So my response is, I want to make it very clear that there's random people that I've never met before making allegations, doing this in my DMs, death threats, everything. I think after this situation was triggered, everybody feels like they can say that I did something to them, whether I met them or not, and make false claims on my name. So that was just another example of the random people that said things about me that I've never met.
So
But
you've never met Sydney ever?
can't talk about that until my case is done. I cannot speak on it. The thing that hurts my heart, if innocence is shown, it just goes away, and the people that lied on the person has no responsibility. Everything just goes quiet. There needs to be accountability taken for when people lie on people and ruin people's lives.
But do
It's
you? But do
uncomfortable.
you, I agree with you. But in those cases, in this case, or in these cases, these 15 cases, do you have evidence that you believe is going to exonerate you from all the charges?
My innocence will be shown once trial is over.
Well, clearly that wasn't true because he's been found guilty. What do you all think about that?
Um, Personally, I really have a disdain, a hate for this man. I hate looking at his face. I hate everything about his mannerisms. I don't like him, like, at all. I never believed he was telling the truth, period. But often in these cases, there's a lot of men, there's a lot of people in general that get accused of something so devious and they don't get a platform to speak. So even though I don't like him and I don't believe him, I think as a platform, you did your due diligence to give this person an opportunity to say their side of the story, because a lot of times in these cases it is guilty until proven innocent. In this case, he was just actually guilty. So there it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's an age-old debate though, right? Like journalistically speaking, you're like in one sense, you want to give someone the platform so you can interrogate them and ask all the questions that have been bothering the public so that they can clarify. But on the other hand, you don't want to empower somebody to spread nastiness or to send that like thinly veiled threats or to in some way use you to intimidate victims.
Mhm.
So it's always been a debate when it comes to giving people platforms like this, especially with someone who is not just being accused of assault, but being accused of being a serial rapist. That's
Mhm.
really, really serious. I think the thing that makes this for me a lot more palatable is the fact that we also had the alleged victims come on to also tell their side of the story. So if anybody felt funny about him coming on, I would hope that they would look at the fact that we also had the other side, and so that we had both sides represented rather than just jumping to conclusions.
Well, what's important to understand is that Gayle King interviewed R. Kelly, right? We do interviews, we talk to people. We don't get emotionally invested in who we can or cannot talk to. I do interviews for a living. That's what this is. I unlock Hollywood, and it's bullshit. And I think we did a great job here by providing a platform to Kaalan to be able to look like a damn fool. I'm going to show you what he said about Halle Berry that I mentioned at the top of the show. Take a look. I remember we talked about your relationship with Halle Berry, and I remember you told me at the time that you allegedly had a photo of her giving you head. Do you remember that?
No, I don't remember that.
So you hooked up with Halle Berry though, right?
First of all, let me make something very clear. I did a movie with her called Kings on Netflix. This woman has been nothing but generous to me. She gave me my first movie opportunity. She shared things about the business, what to look out for. She has been nothing but a respectful, loving person to me. I'm aware of the things that were said in the blogs, but I'm aware that if anybody see anybody with anybody, they're gonna make things up.
I'm talking.
But I will.
I'm talking about a direct conversation that you and I had. I'm not talking about
I
what
don't
the
recall
blog
that.
said.
I don't recall that conversation. I don't recall that conversation.
Well, he probably didn't recall raping all these women too, but clearly that was all a lie. You know, the crazy part about this whole situation with Kaalan is that Kaalan has repeatedly proven that he's just not a good person. And I think that what's happening by virtue of him being found guilty is an important part of the Me Too movement. Now, Damage, you brought up something interesting because there are cases like with what Johnny Depp is going through with Amber Heard, where he's suing her for defamation of character because she said things about him that he believes were not true and that were unfounded, and now he's saying that she damaged his character. And a lot of people do get away with making allegations against men that aren't necessarily true. This wasn't the case, but that is the case in some instances. And so I want to show a video of Sydney, who was here on Hollywood Unlocked, Uncensored, and had a conversation about her relationship and interaction with Kaalan. Take a look. Sydney, you've been very vocal on Instagram. You're one of the few videos that I saw come out against KR. Tell me how you met him and what your relationship with him was.
So we met. So basically, I was introduced to him as a photographer through other models who had worked with him, and they were telling me you should go work with him. And at the time, I didn't understand that these were girls that he kind of was coaching, I guess, and like helping him get other girls to go to. So I reached out to him under the preface of like shooting and music, and that was it. And
you guys met on Instagram, or?
Yes, through Instagram.
Okay.
So I DM'd him, and then he responded. And that same day that the transaction happened, I went over to his house thinking that I was going to be taking digitals and talking about modeling and things of that sort. I was young, like I had just turned 19,
So you get to his house, and then what happens?
I get there, I walk in, and we're sitting like in this gym area. And he kind of like starts pitching to me the idea of prostitution without really using the words of prostitution. So like telling me basically like if I put X amount of money in and then I have sex with him and he records a video of me having sex with him, that he will send it to like all of these celebrities and then we'll make money. And I'm just like sitting there knowing something's wrong and going wrong in my head. Like, I'm just like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, let me get out of this very uncomfortable situation that I found myself in. So he's like, let me just give you a ride back to your car. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, let me go back to my car. For some reason, when we get down to his car, I can't remember. I want to say there was stuff in the front seat, but for some reason I got in the back seat. And so I got in the back seat, and from there I sat on plastic covers on the seat, and I knew exactly what was happening from that point. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't call for help. I was in a parking garage, so I didn't have service, and I was locked in a car. And from there, I just kind of froze. And then there was a moment that I asked him to stop, and I told him I didn't want him to continue and I needed him to stop. And he told me he was almost done and to wait till he was done.
When you say continue, meaning at this point he was
raping me
inside you. Tiara, who was sitting there, was also, and I'm not going to call her a victim, I'm going to call her a survivor, somebody who got really emotional during the interview, recounting her interactions with Kaalan. Take a look.
How he was with me, and like even I have a friend that was 17 that he like raped back then, and it was a situation. And the girls that I heard later tell me the story is kind of the story that you said of him saying he was going to record videos and or send me pictures and stuff, and I'll send it to Drake or whatever. And
Okay, so Tiara, you met him. You all were working together. Was it working together in music or working together
No,
in
photos.
Photos. So is it the same story as Sydney, that he lured you in, or you sought him out to take photos?
No, I didn't saw him out. He tweeted me because I already was a model. He messaged me tweeted me on Twitter. I was like, yeah. He's like, let's shoot. I was like, let's go, let's shoot. DM'd him. He said he worked with my friend. So for me, like she said, that's okay, you're
you felt
cool.
like you could trust him.
You're safe. I can work with you. He was like, okay, I'll come pick you up. I didn't drive, so I was like, okay, cool, whatever. And then right where he's like, yeah, I'm gonna give you $4,000 if I have sex with you so it could be real. And I'm like, why do you have to have sex with me to make it real? You could just lie, like niggas lie all the time. Then while he's trying to say, I'm like, nah. I was like, I don't like that. Like, I'll admit I've done sex work. I'm a stripper, but I've never had sex. I strip, I dance. That's a whole nother ball game. And I was like, nah, I'm not cool with that. Like,
I also think it's important to know for people watching that you can be a sex worker and still get raped.
Yeah, it's very much, if a person does not say, and this is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, if a person does not give you consent, whether you're in a relationship, whether it's a stranger, whatever, if they don't say yes, if they're not, or in the act they're saying no, you need to stop. That doesn't mean keep going. And I said no, I was crying. Like, I'm about to cry now. Like, I was crying while it was happening. And I said stop, and he did the same thing. Like, I'm gonna keep going without a condom at that. And I felt very uncomfortable even after. Like, I made him immediately take me home. I kept texting him like, yo, I'm not cool with this. Like, I feel like it doesn't hit you till after. Like, yo, I was raped.
You know, I want to first say to Sydney and Tiara, you guys were very strong. You exemplified strength in being able to come on and share your stories. And I know that women, I saw the comments afterwards, were really empowered by you taking this issue on. What's your reaction, your thoughts, Damage Blue, to what you just watched?
For me, this was a little bit rough because I don't know if this has come up, but I actually know Tiara personally. I've known her for about 10 years. We have a lot of mutual friends in DC. She's eaten at my house. And she is a queer woman, right? She doesn't even, to my knowledge, even sleep with men like that. And she has such a light. Back then we used to call her Barbie. And to see her now after the assault, I don't think people really sit with how much it haunts you after a sexual assault. That girl is like, has a big personality. She's always smiling. She's always joking around. She's the life of the party. And to see what's happened since Kalaan has done what he's done, like, even though he's in jail, I don't think people realize that when you are raped, when you're sexually assaulted, it eats a piece of your soul. Like, a part of you changes forever. And so the damage that he has done, not just to these two young ladies, but to all his other victims who haven't come forward, it is immeasurable, and that I hope that he rots in jail. That was my first feeling. Seeing her like that is not the girl that I know.
I think another perspective to look at it, you know, as a parent myself, I feel for his family, because it's no way in the world, you know, I can't speak on somebody's upbringing. I don't know anything about his background, but it would be so troubling for me if this was my son, if this was my brother, if this was my cousin. This situation is so nasty, and there's so many victims. There's more victims outside of the actual act. There's people around you that knew you. Like, it's just, it's a, I'm sorry, I'm losing my words because I'm just so disgusted by what I just seen. I just really feel for those people that you interviewed. This situation is just terrible, but at the end of the day, justice was served, and I'm glad that those victims' voices were heard. And hopefully, you know, more people that are doing things like this to young ladies will be sentenced and put away for jail for a long time as well.
Well, listen, before I say what I have to say, I want to give a shout out to Kehlani, the singer Kehlani. She actually was somebody who spearheaded behind the scenes and very publicly her thoughts on Kalaan, and what, you know, she felt from the very beginning, that he was guilty. You know, she had privately shared with me that she was frustrated that we had interviewed Kalaan because she felt like it was giving this clown a platform. But again, I have my reasoning for what I do, and she doesn't run Hollywood Unlocked. I do. So I do want to give her props for bringing this to light. It's also important to note that Kehlani allegedly dated this guy at one point. And so there was a lot of gray area between their relationship and the back and forth on social media because he was obsessed with her and she was obsessed with putting him in jail. And rightfully so, if this is what he was doing. She did a great job advocating for these women. And I think one of the women, from what I understand, was somebody that was close to her. And that, while he was in this relationship allegedly or on his way out of it, he took advantage of this young girl. And I'll say allegedly for the sake of not knowing whether he was found guilty of this or not, because there's so many people. But Kehlani took to her Instagram this week and had a lot to say about the verdict once the verdict was handed down, and I want to react to it. Take a look.
Who victim blamed when this came out. I did not forget who tore down victims of sexual assault when this came out. I did not forget what bloggers and what blogs and what platforms felt like they had to play neutral and give a rapist a platform for the sake of clicks and views when this came out. I hope all of y'all beat the fuck out of your own ass today. I hope you eat your fucking words. This man is going to jail for the rest of his life, guilty as hell. And it's crazy that it took this for y'all to believe it, because it should have been believed when all the shit came out. But I hope you feel like shit. I hope you feel like shit. And God bless these girls, and thank God that they're getting some form of peace that they have not been able to get through this entire fucking process. That's all I have to say. I don't want to be screaming at my phone.
I want to respond to what she said directly to you, Kehlani, and I can't speak for every blogger, a blog or whatever. I can just speak for me being a culture critic, not a blogger who owns a platform, who actually interviewed him, because I don't know all the interviews that he did do. It's people like you that want the public to arrive at an opinion before the courts do. It's people like you that gaslight and exacerbate an underlying racial problem in this country where white people rush to judgment and convict us in the streets and on social media before they do in court. It's people like you that don't understand that you can be an advocate for women without wanting the public to rush to judgment and want a black man hung in public before he has his due process. Unfortunately, the way that I'm set up as a black man and as a gay black man who goes through discrimination two different ways, I don't have the privilege of getting on Instagram and saying somebody should die and be burned at the cross before they have their day in court. Part of what we do as storytellers is give clowns a platform, like we did in giving you a platform to say what you said about us, right? And we give those clowns a platform to say what they need to say that you could then turn around and use against them. But to go and blame us for not publicly dragging him to hell before he had his day in court, let me be very, very clear. That is the problem in our world today, where people in their whole lives are judged and destroyed before they have their day in court. And when sometimes they get to court and they're found not guilty, because let's be very clear, there are men and women who make false allegations about people when it comes to sexual assault. That clearly was not the case here, but we do know that that is an actual fact. There's a man that just got released from prison the other day who served, I think, 40 years in prison or something crazy for a crime that he did not commit. And so Emmett Till, do we have to keep going back and back and back to history of where black men have been killed or have been jailed for things that were not true? And so while I understand she's closer to this situation, whether it's because she knew the girls or she was dating the guy, you can't put us all on the side of aligning with a rapist because we chose not to prosecute him before he had his day in court. But just like we're putting a bow on this story by talking about it and showing your point of view, maybe you should just go back to singing or be a full-time advocate for women, but be very clear. If you criticize those of us that have a job to do in terms of storytelling, don't think that I'm going to sit back and just say, okay, cool, Kehlani's upset. Now, Damage, I know you have a different opinion. So go ahead.
It's not necessarily a different opinion. I think everybody up here does not support anything about Kaalan Walker at all, period. And me personally, I despise him. I would never want to sit down and talk to him. So I understand an emotional response because I want to slap the shit out of him. So I get her emotional response to this. It's not fair to say people are trying to play neutral. At the end of the day, I despise this man, but I can't break a rule that can help somebody else just because I hate him so much. And that rule is everyone should have the opportunity to have their point of view and speak their side of the story. And like Blue said, it's good to get both sides because you do not want to empower a serial rapist. But at the same time, as much as I hate this man, and I do, what you've done on this platform was needed. And honestly, I think it actually, in some cases, helped those young ladies get justice that was served.
Yeah, I believe in believe but verify. So you can believe that he's guilty, but still want to verify and make sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's. Because when you don't do due diligence, you're actually helping the abuser. Perfect example. And I understand why Kehlani's feeling like this. Like to your point, Damage. She's my birthday twin. We're protective. So she's very protective of these young ladies. And I know when I'm protecting somebody, I will scorch the earth anybody who was messing with them. So she's having an emotional reaction while we're all having a logical reaction. So I completely understand why there's a disparity here. But a perfect example is, Chris Brown. Chris Brown has been in the public fodder for a very long time, had all these allegations. But that last young lady who accused him, if we had all said, well, we know Chris Brown be doing stuff, so let's just throw him under the bus, we would have looked stupid and had egg on our face and been journalistically irresponsible when it came out that she was extorting him. So even when we think somebody is a dastardly individual, we still have to verify and we still have to go through due diligence. So I get where she's coming from emotionally, but logically she got this one wrong.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And she's gotten it wrong a few times when it comes to her relationship with the blogs. And let me say something. It's a lot of y'all singers that ain't even reached number one on the Hot 100 list. Y'all need to focus on the things that are important to your career instead of how we do our job as journalists or bloggers or media companies or whatever. I understand the frustration. And what I loved about Kehlani's leadership, I'll even say, in this instance is that she put us on the phone with the accusers. She made sure that there was a connection. She also shared her private thoughts on, Halle Berry allegedly bailing him out of jail when he was arrested the first time. She never talked about that publicly, and I never saw her slam Halle Berry. Kehlani, you told me from your mouth to my ears that you thought Halle Berry, or that the rumor was that Halle had bailed him out of jail. Why didn't you slam her? It's easy to slam the blogs, the bloggers, all of us that are looked at as problematic, but why don't you slam Halle Berry? Because you know what would happen. She would turn around, or something would happen online with the fans. They'd come after you, but you're not going to spill tea or drop tea or think that you got something on us who are doing our job and you're not going to spill it all. Now, I never said nothing about what you said about Halle Berry, but here it is. I'm putting it out there now because now it's all on the table. You know what I mean? Slam Halle Berry. Halle, call Kehlani and see what she think about you allegedly bailing this now convicted rapist, and from his words, your friend, out of jail. Okay, cool. Well, listen, Sydney responded to the verdict, and this is what she had to say.
So I honestly wasn't even sure if there would ever be a day that I get to share this news with you guys. But the person who raped me and so many other people was found guilty today of rape and is facing a lot of time in prison. I'm so immensely grateful for everybody and everything that everybody has. I'm trying to do this without crying, Lord. I'm so grateful for everybody who testified on the behalf of all of his victims, because I know that not every single voice got the chance to be heard. I'm so grateful of the people who spoke up about the injustice that was happening and, made our voices heard, specifically made my voice heard. I am appreciative to Kehlani, to India, you guys.
Yeah, so listen, Sydney, I hope that you get, whatever support that you deserve to work through this. You're a strong woman. I commend you and every other woman and every other man who steps up and holds their attackers accountable. And to Kaalan, I have to say, I never believed you. I never believed you for a second when you said on this show. I never believed you on your social media. There was never a moment where I saw anything you said and believed that it was true. I also want to say to your fans or your company, team, people who support you, who tried to chase me down on Clubhouse, attacking me for supporting the victims and allowing them a platform to say their part, because I was getting attacked over on Clubhouse from his people saying that I was allowing these people to destroy another black man, and they were literally harassing me. And like I told him, shut up, stupid. I'm not court. But the court has spoken and your man's is going down, and rightfully so. There was always something weird about this guy. And, I live in a space and sit in a seat where I see a lot of stories told every day that sometimes I'm like, yo, that don't even seem right. Yo, this don't even seem right, because sometimes people do lie. But I never for one moment thought that anybody in this situation, including Kehlani, were lying about Kaalan. So it's great to see justice served. Now he's reportedly looking at up to 100 years in prison. Castration should be a part of that sentence. All right, well, look, let's move on to another court situation. Kris Jenner, the head of the Kardashian clan, has called Blac Chyna, quote, stupid and ghetto. Allegedly, this is happening because Blac Chyna has filed this $100 million lawsuit, and the trial is going down, baby, downtown between the Kardashians and Blac Chyna. Now, when I talked to Blac Chyna the other day, she said that she had the best outfits for court, and I want to see what she's actually wearing.
What?
I want to see what she's actually wearing, because she said she was ready to go in. And as I mentioned on my other show, Gagging with Jason Lee, that Blac Chyna did say she was going to come here and sit down with me whenever this trial is over. Well, anyway, baby, LA is on fire because they are in court, and shocking text messages have come out. Chyna is also accusing the family of assault and battery, domestic violence, revenge porn, and interference with contracts. Now, Chyna says that the family got her reality show, Rob & Chyna, canceled. And remember, Kanye also said something interesting about the family and how they meddle in people's business when they're not happy with them. Take a look. I've seen you with Kim privately, and I know that there was a time where you all loved each other. So I'm hoping, regardless of where it's ended up, that they can see, Kim and them can see, how important it is for you to be able to participate in the lives of the people you created. I mean, these are your children.
Yeah, and participate without no noise. Because they can go on SNL and make jokes. They can make jokes in the media. They could plant stories about whoever I'm dating, whatever they want to do. They can block deals. They can do all that type of stuff. But I'm going to tell you straight up, don't play with my kids. Don't play with my kids. Whoever y'all work for, whoever y'all think the family is working for, I'm telling you right now, don't play with my children. And it's going to be all legal.
Now, Chyna's lawyers are claiming that they have text messages proving that Kris Jenner told Rob & Chyna's showrunner to, quote, take her off the show. Chyna's team is also claiming to have other alleged texts from Kris to E executives, and it allegedly shows the 66-year-old grandma calling Chyna stupid and, quote, really ghetto, and telling E to, quote, ditch the bitch.
Oh, what?
I believe it. I believe it. I believe it. And Kris is the executive producer too. She's the creator of the Kardashian clan. She built this billion-dollar empire left to right. Ditch the bitch. Get her ghetto ass off my show. I can see it. Although I've never heard her talk like that. I mean, with a couple martinis, it probably slipped out. What do you think?
The ghetto bothers me. I'm gonna be honest. When white women, particularly rich white women with lots of biracial kids, are using words like ghetto, it don't sit right.
She does not have biracial kids. She has.
Sorry, grandkids.
Kids. See, you thought the swirling was one generation up. The swirling.
I was thinking about Corey. Sorry, you're right. I was thinking about Corey and them. No, I believe Chyna. We're talking about what we believe. If I'm keeping it a buck, everybody who works in this town, everybody who works in this industry knows that Hollywood is based on relationships. You live and die by that same sort of relationships. The same way someone can make a phone call and put you on, they can make a phone call and take you off. I have been there with very powerful people when they've said so-and-so pissed me off and so-and-so called about offering them a job and I killed it. So we know for a fact this happens every day. And we know that, the devil takes days off and Kris Jenner doesn't, right? So I 100% believe that what she said happened as far as her messing with her back. And also, if you are stopping me from getting paid, you're also stopping me from having money to take care of your grandkids. So I just think it's kind of nasty to mess with somebody's money when they're the mother of one of your grandchildren. This whole thing, I hope that Chyna wins. I'm praying for her to win.
Well, we all know that the Kardashians have a reputation of being super petty, and Kris will do anything to protect her family. She actually told me that from her mouth. Well, there's more. Chyna's attorneys are also saying that they have emails from Khloe, who allegedly told two Keeping Up with Kardashian producers that she would quit the show if E gave Chyna a second season. So this is all coming in where Chyna, they tried to throw this case out a couple years ago, and the judge said, nah, son, we going to court. And so Chyna may have a real opportunity to grab $100 million. Can you imagine? Could you imagine the revenge? First of all, she got a baby by Rob after Tyga left her for Kylie. and now you come back and get $100 million and the only heir to the Kardashian name. I mean, it's insane. But Chyna's also now been accused by Rob of putting a gun to his head and strangling him with an iPhone charger cord. And, you know, if I look at Tokyo Tony and think that the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, I would say there's some truth in the applesauce.
Well, I'll say this. She's a little unconventional, but she's very methodic. I think if anybody can make this happen, it's Blac Chyna. So stupid? Not at all. You want to call her a little ghetto? Well, what's ghetto? You know what I'm saying? What's the definition of ghetto? Because there's a lot of things the Kardashians do that could be considered a little ghetto, right? But
all their baby daddies, the Kardashians are ghetto as hell.
If that's what you consider ghetto, because I don't want to say baby daddies is just a ghetto thing.
No, the stereotype, they're the stereotype. If the Kardashians were black, we would call them ghetto.
Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example of something that's ghetto. Chyna said, in response to putting the gun to Rob's head and strangling him with the phone charger, that, quote, she was just joking.
Oh, that's a little ghetto.
Okay. I mean, we joke like that sometimes. That's hood. That's just a little hood. If you ain't put a gun to somebody you love head, maybe it's not real love in her eyes.
I don't know if it's ghetto as much as it's psychotic. But look, either way, you know, Chyna clearly said she never meant to hurt Rob. It was just playing around. You know, it's foreplay. But, you know, either way, you know, she's over there in court. She has the entire Kardashians over there. You know, I'm living for it all. Now, Tokyo Tony should be a court reporter. Could you imagine?
Oh, I love her.
Being a court reporter for Hollywood Unlocked, because her explanation of what they look like, what they're wearing, and how they're behaving, I ain't gonna lie, I got a cackle or two last night. So Tokyo Tony, if you have no job or you need, you know, extra money to buy some weed or whatever, you can come and work at Hollywood Unlocked.
Tokyo Tony is my favorite part of this whole thing. I live for her recaps. She is clowning the hell out of them. And here's the thing. The person who has nothing to lose is the most dangerous person in the room. She has dragged them for filth in a way that is so masterful that they're now saying that Kris Jenner is scared of her and tried to get her kicked out of the courtroom because they're intimidated by her. You intimidated by the truth.
No, you missed the full tea. Tokyo Tony got kicked out of the court. Before we get into whether or not she was kicked out of the courtroom, she had a very specific artistic way of expressing her experience with the Kardashians in court. Take a look.
Kim had this big ass suit. Charlotte, they look homeless. No, I'm not playing. And it made me so mad. Y'all gonna try to downplay your fucking self. Kris had on a fucking crusty ass tan suit with one button. None of them bitches had shirts under their belt. It was horrible. Kris, old, decrepit shorty, looked like, y'all see that little, okay, don't do that. Okay, yes I am. Y'all see that motherfucking thing that be on the tricycle, Saw? The little man on the tricycle be like this on the movie Saw. She looked, it looked like they dead and they paste the shit and spackled it out. Dips and curved, like, and dents and shit. Yeah. Okay, I was like, let me show you what Kylie did. It's Kylie. I don't need to lie about a motherfucking thing, ho. That's the last thing I'm gonna motherfucking do, bitch. I love every bit of shit I'm saying. Kylie was doing me like this. She was looking straight like this. Bitch, get your peripheral vision off me. I can see your whole shorty. You staring at me, looking straight, but you looking dead at me the whole time like this.
I don't care what nobody say.
No.
I don't care. I don't care what nobody say. I would go watch Tokyo Tony do stand-up before I would watch Dave Chappelle. She's iconic.
She compared Kris Jenner to Jigsaw. Jigsaw from Saw is a very strong visual. I think we all know what Kris Jenner was looking like. And honestly, the court reporter, you know how they have those people who do sketches? If you go on Twitter, it's very clear the person who's drawing the sketches is Team Chyna, because in the sketch, Chyna looks gorgeous like a model, and the Kardashians all look like three witches. So it's clear that there's some favoritism already leaning towards Chyna in that courtroom.
It's going to come out that the court reporter was black from Compton, and she's going to be like, yeah, bitch, ghetto that. Well, look, it doesn't stop there. After they said that the judge kicked Tokyo Tony out for what she said about the Kardashians, she, of course, took to social media to give us an update. Take a look.
Why is this? This put me out of courtroom. get the fuck. I can't wait. I'm gonna get your juice. Never mind. You're not sitting beside me. But let me tell you about yesterday. They got dogged the fuck out. And they mad today. They so mad. They said that they were scared of me. With all those police around, everything's going on, you're scared of little old Tokyo. That's because they losing. Everybody knows they're sluts and buckets. They sex each other and shit like that. And that's why I'm exposed all Rob's secrets. I sure am. Totally. Yeah, they about to get dog walked. Let me tell you something. Like yesterday, they look horrific. They look sick. Chloe looks sick and she's scared. What are you scared of? I've been told y'all these bitches been watching me. All these celebrity bitches watching me, bitch. All of them. All of them. I told you Chloe subscribed to my network. I told you that. So let me go dig up the receipts. She subscribed. She got pressed to see what I'm doing on my show. Don't worry. Y'all Hulu won't make you something.
Okay, Tokyo Tony, you have an invitation here to Hollywood Unlocked. When Chyna comes, can you please come with her? Because I don't know what to say. What do you guys think? Should Tokyo Tony, the mother of the plaintiff, be kicked out of court?
Absolutely not. And honestly, she has a point because Kim Kardashian recently appeared on a podcast where she admitted that she shares a Finsta with Lala where she reads everything about her. So Tokyo Tony's actually factually accurate. Kim Kardashian is most definitely, it's not just Khloe, they're most definitely watching all her content. Kim's already admitted it.
You're gonna have to. She in the room and she
Yeah.
giving that raw from the streets perspective right there. I'm still caught on get your peripheral view off me. How do you tell somebody to get their peripheral view? That's some gangster shit right there.
She's a national
Well,
treasure.
Blac Chyna's in court beating the Kardashians down, and Kylie's peripheral is bothering Tokyo Tony. I don't know. I ain't never heard nobody say your peripheral is bothering.
That's a new one.
God bless them all. All right. Well, in promising daddy news, Future wants a wife and more kids. He says that women are just toxic, just like he is. Now, the Atlanta rapper recently sat down with GQ and had a whole conversation saying that he wants a wife and more kids. But in this situation, in addition to the 8 kids that he already has with his 8 baby mamas, is that he wants to have at least 3 by the woman that will be his wife. The baby mamas for Future include his ex-fiancée, Sierra, who is happily married with a man who loves her and beautiful children, Bow Wow's baby mama, Joey Chavis, Eliza Serafin, who's been demanding a child support case increase since 2019. Now, in a recent interview with Kanye's ex, Julia Fox, she asked him if he wanted more kids, and this is how it all went down. Listen.
Hi, Future. Do you want more kids?
Yes. By my wife. If I ever get married, you know what I'm saying, I want to have kids by my wife, of course. It could be like 3, because I never had more than 1 kid by a girl. So like if I had 2 by her, then it's like more than I had. So I feel like it was more special.
Well, I don't know why Julia Fox's question sounded sultry. Didn't that sound a little sexual to y'all?
Isn't that how she talks to black men in general? I just thought that was sorry. That was my impression. Every time there's a black man around, hello, Mr. President. So I just thought that was her thing.
Well, I don't believe that Future needs any more children, but who am I to spay and neuter the man? I mean, I want him to be happy. I want his baby moms to be happy. And I do believe, though, you should be able to have as many kids as you can afford and whose lives you're present in. You know, because it's one thing to be able to afford them, but these aren't toys. These are actually human beings that are going to grow up. And I don't know how Future is as a dad outside of what we hear on social media. And we know that, you know, in relationships, whenever you're co-parenting, sometimes you piss somebody off or they say whatever they want to say about you. It's just hard to believe it when it's said multiple times. I don't know that he should have any more children until there's some structure. But if he was to get married and actually not be the player that he is now and commit to one woman, of course they should be able to create a family for themselves, because I don't think any woman is going to get with a man and just decide not to have kids because he comes with 8.
Jesus.
Yeah, I like what you said. Structure. You know, he didn't say he just want more kids willy-nilly. Like, I think he's ran that race. He said, once I get with my woman, yeah, I think it'll be more special to have, you know, a few children within this structure of something he probably hasn't had yet since he was engaged to Sierra. So good for Future, man. You know, we can all evolve. It takes us some time sometimes, but looks like Future's getting there.
And who are
Uh,
we? And wait. And who are we at Hollywood Unlocked to decide what his future looks like? It's his
Exactly.
future. And his future wife should decide if he has any children in the future.
well, in the present, I would like him to get a therapist because Future needs some help.
Here we go. Here we go. Mental health shaming, going right into mental health month.
It's not shaming. I'm an advocate. I'm advocating for him to get a therapist. I'm an
We don't
advocate.
know that
He needs a
Future has
therapist.
mental health issues.
We
No.
don't. I have Wi-Fi. Like it's all it takes to know that he needs some help.
You can be a bad baby daddy or an absentee father, but not have mental health issues.
If you're bad 8 times, you need to sit with somebody and unpack why you keep repeating this mistake. Like, think about it. He has so many kids that he has to have 2 with one person just to make it special because everybody else has kind of gotten some of his Johnny Appleseed. I think Future, I've never heard him ever take accountability for anything. If it's happened, please send me the clip. And so I'm just concerned that a man can
It's
have
in
this
the
many
music.
kids. Accountability or what is the accountability?
All
in
of
the
it.
music
His
Damage?
whole journey
Sue
is in
me.
the music. And the album's coming soon. It's in the music.
Saying your journey and being accountable are not the same thing.
Can we be very clear? He didn't go on a drive-by shooting 8 times without the club letting out. So we can't say that he's the only person that bears responsibility in all these circumstances, right? You know,
He said they were toxic too.
I know a lot of women in this city who can't wait for a Laker to get up in that thing and drop one in them so they can go and hang out at the SLS pool. I'm not saying that's all women. I'm not saying that's all these baby mamas. But we can't act like we're not in a city where we don't know that is an actual program. Now, 8 times, I don't know, Future. I'm trying over here, but ain't no Future in my front. So I'm going to just say you got a mental health problem.
And it's not about just the kids too, by the way. I remember when Future and Sierra were in love or supposed to be in love. And one of the things that he did that actually is something that you need to talk to somebody about was he love bombed her. He literally did an interview where he said, I took one look at her and knew she was going to be my wife, and said that, like, I took a look at you and knew you were going to be my wife. He love bombed her for years and then treated her like she was a hoe off the street. That's actually not okay. And it's actually a form of emotional abuse. So no, Future has done toxic things. It's not just about where he sires his seed. It's about how he treats these women in these relationships. It's not okay. It's not.
Well, what
acknowledging is not accountability.
What Future did to Sierra taught Sierra her worth, and she went and fell into the arms of a man who now treats her what she's worth. So she had to go through that to get where she's at. You know, it's real important that we understand these journeys that we go on, although they are not always feeling good. They're necessary. And I look at Future and Russell as a couple that, you know, me and Lala joked on the phone one time where we said, like, if that relationship, I said, if that relationship don't work, I have lost faith in all relationships, because I really think Russell is a real solid guy, but we also never know what goes on beyond the veils of celebrity, right? We don't know what's happening. Now, also in this same interview, Future was called the best rapper alive by GQ. And I have to say, GQ, I'm trying to get in y'all's world because I want to go to the best dressed, or I want to go to the event, the Men of the Year events and Hot 100, whatever. But I'm going to need y'all to stop talking about rap because y'all focus on fashion. I think calling Future the best rapper alive was so disrespectful to Jay-Z, to Nas, to Kanye West. It's not to take Drake. It's not to take away from him because he is one of the best, but the greatest rapper alive? Now, Damage, you're the music guy. What do you think?
Just trolling, man. Trolling. I don't even think Future considers himself the greatest rapper alive. Future is transcended into no, for real. He transcended into an artist. I don't think he even looks at himself as, oh, I'm just rapping lyrics. He does melodies. He's a songwriter. He's a producer. He's so many things. So, you know how these magazines try to get some clickbait, you know, greatest rapper alive. Not with J. Cole dropping what he's dropping. Like, come on. Bro.
Well, I've met Future several times. I ain't gonna lie, I actually like Future. You know, I don't know his relationship with these women, and he said that they called him toxic, but he said that they were also toxic to him. So God bless toxicity, and just keep on spreading the love or the semen. All right. Well, look, speaking of love, DJ Envy, our friend DJ Envy is now out with his wife Gia Casey talking about their marriage, and they've talked about the toxicity that they had. And then Gia, his wife, talked about faking orgasms for the first 10 years of their relationship. During an interview with The Shade Room, DJ Envy of The Breakfast Club and his wife, Gia Casey, opened up about, quote, their toxic marriage, including faking orgasms for 10 years. And Gia said that she knows Envy lives to make her happy, so she tries to reward him back with an orgasm, even if it's fake. Listen.
So yesterday we did an interview with the Shade Room, and the Shade Room, of course, only posted a part of the interview, and this is the part that they
said,
posted.
Of course, I'm sure so many women can relate. Like, you want to reward that man for that work, and the only reward that you have to offer is an orgasm. But even if I didn't feel it, I would still be performative. So yes, I was faking it.
We got into like a argument, and then she was like, well, I don't be having an orgasm. And I was like, what? And she was like, I don't. I'm like, no, yes, you do. I hear it. Like, yeah, and then she was like, no, I'm faking it. I'm like, every time? And she was like, yeah. And then that just crushed me because I thought I was putting in work. Like, I'm sitting there thinking I'm, Big Daddy Long Legs.
Big Daddy Long Leg.
I thought I was Mandingo.
Even if you are Big Daddy Long Leg, that don't mean that you're doing it right. Okay.
All right. So let's open up the phone line.
You ain't working that middle just because you Big Daddy Long Leg. You gotta know what you're doing down there.
Okay, first of all, Charlamagne, we don't want to hear you giving men suggestions on how to work that thing. I don't know. It's the constant emasculation of men for me. Gia, I love you. I think you're beautiful. I've met you. And of course, I love Envy. I love them together. And I love that they've been able to go through things and withstand the test of their relationship. He was very honest on Good Morning America 3 when he was talking about their relationship. I watched that segment and he talked about, being the one who caused a lot of challenges, with, I think, infidelity. But I have a problem with women publicly discussing things that emasculate their husband. And in this way, in some ways, I feel like this does by saying that your man, wasn't able to, make you orgasm, or you were actually faking it. Or maybe, she wasn't able to have an orgasm. I don't know if there's medical conditions that women just aren't able to have orgasms, but in the hip hop world, no man wants to be heard by his woman in public that he wasn't able to make her orgasm for 10 years. I think that's problematic.
I think it's healthy, man. I think it's good to see a married couple on a platform being transparent. They've been going on 27 years. So that's in the past. To talk about what happened in the first 10 years can help a lot of new couples because you need that open communication. Now, what I didn't like is she said it during an argument. I think that could have been said outside of an argument to not be weaponized. Now, that's a whole nother conversation. But the first 10 years of their marriage, they've been together, 27 years? That's incredible to have a couple together in this industry that long and to sit here and tell a story about their journey. I am kind of inspired by it. I wouldn't call it emasculation, but that's her truth. He sat there next to her saying, yeah, this happened. He had to own up to it. Like, I wasn't pleasing my woman. Look, and part of being a man is you're going to provide and you got to please your lady too. There's two sides to that. You know what I'm saying? So now if it was happening in the current time, maybe I feel you, Jason, but this is something they're reviewing, they're looking back on. And I think it's dope to have a couple that have been together that long sharing their experiences in a positive way.
Well, she also had his consent too, right? So when you're sharing something publicly, unlike Jada, for instance, who sometimes does things, and poor Will is finding out with the rest of us when he hits refresh. At least Envy and her had a conversation where there was consent involved. I will say this too, and a lot of men, this is a blow to their egos. Penetrative sex is the least efficient way to have an orgasm. Most women, like literally 9 out of 10 women, find it the hardest to have an orgasm from being penetration. You actually get it from clitoral stimulation because the clit is the only part of the body that is meant to give you an orgasm. So unless you're giving your girl head or fingering her or doing something else, your penis is actually not built to give orgasm. So it's actually a lot more common than people want to admit. And I think a lot of men don't realize how bad they are taking feedback. I've had situations where I didn't have an orgasm and I was very honest with my partner and I told them what I wanted and it turned into an argument because he was just mad that he couldn't figure it out on his own. So I think it's really healthy that they're showing that men can receive feedback, women can feel empowered to give it. I do think it's toxic where she did it, but I'm happy that they use it as an opportunity to have 17 years of good sex after the first 10 of questionable sex. So shout out to them for being transparent.
Listen, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about the clit being the only place or the tip or the tat. I don't want to hear all that. God bless them all. And I just feel like, again, with or without permission, there's just some things that I don't know. I would leave off. I mean, look at what she did to DJ Envy. Can I just break down what I heard? Because I'm a detail-oriented person. He said he didn't know there was something wrong with the long stroke, or if the daddy with the long leg. He kept referencing how big it was. because he
How about
felt
Charlemagne?
emasculated. He felt emasculated, no matter how you want to look at it, with or without permission. Basically, when somebody hears, and maybe this isn't true, but when somebody hears that you could make your wife orgasm, it's because you had a little penis. I'm not saying he does. He's Dominican, I think, or whatever. So we know that, I don't know. My experience is that's not true. But I don't know. And I like Envy. I look at Envy like he's like an older brother or maybe younger brother. I don't know. But either way, I don't want to hear about my brother's penis and orgasms and all this. This made me extremely uncomfortable. Charlemagne, you ain't gay enough to have that conversation with him. It takes a me to have that conversation, because I would have asked him a couple more. I would have had some follow-up questions like, we need exhibit A, B, D. Either way, shout out to Gia, shout out to Envy for being able to be so open. They were plugging their book, Real Life, Real Love, talking about the 27-year experience and journey to getting to a place where they could talk about orgasming or the lack thereof. You should check it out. All right, well, look, that's the show. Keep coming back because it works, like the NA meetings that your mom and daddy go to. But we out here. Peace. All right, look, that was a great show. And make sure you keep coming back because we got all types of amazing interviews and topics that are going to make you go crazy.
That's right. That means like, subscribe, do everything you need to do to make sure you stay up to date with what we got going on.
And ladies, stay tuned in because I have your back.
And listen, make sure that you're commenting below because even though I say I don't read it on the show, that's all I do when it's over. Peace.